Hello, stress management class. This is Professor Robert Alexander. And before we launch into lecture 8, you know, just want to discuss some news and notes that we might have in terms of transferring. Now, you have to apply for transfer the same time every year. It's typically from October 1st through November 30th. Okay, this is applying for the UCs, CSUs, and also private schools. Now, if you have questions, you want to talk to a counselor at De Anza College and make sure you're getting in that application. You always have the first 2 weeks of school to drop a class with no record of your grades. So you want to make sure you do that if you are ever feeling overwhelmed because it provides you opportunity to get your money back. And last but not least, before we go into lecture number 8, is we have the mental health and wellness team at De Anza College. They are tried and true. It is a staff that is very diverse, and you have up to 5 sessions where you can meet with the clinician if you are having some mental health challenges. And we are reducing the stigma within the mental health field, and we want folks to come in and get that necessary help. All right. So every once in a while, I will drop some news and notes. Also, check your calendar for different events that we have at De Anza, and you'll have a successful time here. Okay. Lecture number 8. This has to do with perception interventions. Okay, you're going to learn about different types of personality in this, but we're also going to talk about selective awareness. Right? You got to stop sometimes and smell the roses. All of us have heard that phrase before. The perspective and selective awareness have an attitude of gratitude, being appreciative of what we have, right? That person that is sleeping on the couch is thankful that they have a roof over their head, right? As opposed to being homeless. That person that is able to afford a meal is thankful, as opposed to that person that doesn't know where that next meal is coming from, right? How to use humor to reduce stress. Type A behavior patterns, self-esteem. We're going to learn the working definition of locus of control. We're going to learn about anxiety management, resiliency, and hardness, right? So, in order to be resilient, this is overcoming something, right? And then coming out on the other end shining. So the perceptions, cognitive interpretations of people, things, and events within one's world that relate to the inner self include perceptions of events and one's own self-worth, right? So being selective or aware of a positive aspect of each situation. People should realize the good and the bad sides of every situation. Should selectivity or should selectively de-emphasize the disturbing features of the stressor, right? Daily experience. The people restrict themselves from enjoying the pleasures of life. Due to the routine of daily experience, people are desensitized to experience due to habituation, right? And what that means is folks are closed off, or you become kind of numb to the experience that you might feel habitually. Habitually means day to day, right? To the point where it doesn't bother you anymore. But there are ways you can still work on the pleasures of life and reduce stress in those moments. So, perspective and selective awareness includes putting minor stressors into perspective by focusing on the positive aspects of the current situation. Developing an attitude of gratitude means focusing on the things in which to be grateful about, right? Sometimes that could be having a part time job. You got money coming in versus being broke, having a roof over your head versus being homeless, right? Having a community of support versus not having anybody to rely on. You have to look for the shining moments in your life, right? There's a beacon of hope, right? Everything is not all bad, as opposed to that person that kind of approaches life like there's me against the world. Optimism and health. Optimism can keep people healthy and stress free, right? Pessimism is that person that's always negative. I used to have a friend that was always like, oh man, I'm going to get a traffic ticket if I drive, or If we go to this concert, we're going to get into with somebody, right? It's very negative. So pessimism contributes to poor health. This can have a direct impact on your health. Humor plays an important role in optimism, right? Humor captures interest and helps others learn about stress. Okay, so it's working in the funny moments. That could be watching a funny movie, going to a comedy show, right? Or just looking for funny moments that just happen on a day to day, not at the expense of others, but it may be something that triggers a laughable moment. And if you are able to laugh with somebody else, sometimes that can become contagious and reduce stress as well, right? So humor is effective means of coping with stress. It increases cheerfulness. The forms of humor: exaggeration, incongruity, surprise, slapstick, sarcasm, fun, irony. Humor and stress. Humor results in psychological and physiological changes leading to relaxation and improves the health of elderly and is used as therapy. It helps in overcoming post traumatic stress disorder. Humor can be used inappropriately, causing distress to others. Type A behavior pattern: clusters of behaviors associated with the development of a coronary heart disease. Competitive drive, aggressiveness, impatience, time urgency, free floating hostility, and insecurity. Type B behavior pattern: behavior that exhibits no free floating hostility or sense of time urgency and isn't excessively competitive. The opposite of type A. Research findings on a type A pattern. So you've heard this term. This person is a type A personality, but the studies of nurses and teachers show that type A's tend to experience more job stress. So a type A hospital employees have more health problems than other hospital employees. Why? Um, Type A's take longer to recover from stressful events than type B's, and they tend to suffer from coronary heart disease and obstruction of the coronary vessels. Type A behaviors: hostility and anger. The modification of a type B behavior involved, right? Rewarding type B behavior while ignoring or punishing type A behavior. Setting weekly, realistic, and attainable goals. Listing behaviors that one wants to eliminate. Separating needs from wants and slowing down and not taking things in a hurry. Self esteem. And let me just go back for a minute. There are a bunch of videos. If you want to take a deeper dive, go to YouTube and just type in the search type A behavior, or you can Google this if you want more information. Because I'm a visual learner as well as auditory, so it provides you opportunity to go a little bit deeper and learn more about what type of behavior you may exhibit or the people around you, and how to effectively kind of work with those people. Self esteem is how highly one regards oneself. So, poor self esteem is related to drug abuse, irresponsible sexual behavior, and other unhealthy activities. Self esteem is learned through societal standards, friends, and family. Poor self esteem leads to the development of stress related illnesses. Self efficacy helps in building self esteem. Self efficacy is a belief that one can be successful at doing something. It helps in recovering from post traumatic stress disorder, depression, and occupational stress. Other behaviors: a type C is associated with the development of cancer and is characterized by denial and suppression of emotions. Pathological niceness. Type D is associated with the development of and death from coronary heart disease, characterized by negative emotion and exhibited and inhibited self-expression. How to increase self-esteem: identify what's needed to be improved upon and looking at other components of self-esteem that needs to be addressed. Seeking honest feedback from friends. Being open about one's thoughts, feelings, passions, and frustrations. The locus of control is perception of the amount of personal control one has over the events in one's life. So, an external locus of control perception that one has minimum control over life events. The internal locus of control is the perception that one has maximum control over life events. So people have a good locus of control in one area of life and not in another. The co-creator or perception deficiency (CCPD) is the belief that one is either the victim of circumstances or the master of circumstances. Both perceptions are faulty, right? There's a famous saying that says the one that says they can and the one that says they cannot are both probably right, because this is a interpretation of your perception about being able to do something, to carry out something, to accomplish a goal. So it's always good to think positively about situations, right? Co-creator perception deficiency (CCPD). Anxiety, unrealistic fear. This results in physiological arousal and behaviors to avoid or escape the anxiety provoking types of anxiety. Is test anxiety. This is something that I suffer from and I still do as a student. So I have to prepare and be as ready for that particular test as possible in order to avoid my test anxiety. But this consists of worrying and emotionality that's centered around a quiz or an exam. Trait anxiety is a general sense of anxiety. State anxiety is anxiety that is either temporary in nature or specific to a particular stimulus, right? So this is going to be anxiety that you feel going up a roller coaster ride, like when you get at the very top and you know that drop, that first drop is coming, and you freak out. State anxiety. Okay, other types of anxiety have to do with a panic disorder, feelings of terror that strike people repeatedly without warning. It makes them numb, sweaty, and weak. Right? Social phobia is overwhelming fear and self-consciousness in everyday situations, experienced in formal and informal situations. Specific phobia, intense fear of a specific situation that is harmless. Anxiety management techniques, right? So environment, environmental planning. This is just a good opportunity to pause the video, right? Look at the description, look at the example for the environmental planning and the relabeling. Table 8.1. Okay, the second table has to do with anxiety management techniques. Pause the video and read. Make sense of this. Anxiety management techniques continue. We're looking at the technique of systematic desensitization. That's the hard word to pronounce. Pause it and make sense of this. All right. Coping technique for anxiety disorder. Cognitive restructuring involves viewing an anxiety provoking event as less threatening. Right. So this may be speaking in public. Okay, you know that giving a presentation is going to be anxiety provoking, but you know that when you go through it and you do well speaking in public, the outcome is going to be great. You're going to get a good grade, showing the teacher that you're prepared for that presentation and or speech. Right? It helps in accurate assessment of a situation by measuring the consequences or outcomes. Talk to people of all ages. So when we look at the examination of irrational beliefs, activating agent is A. B is your belief system. C is the consequence. And D is disrupting irrational beliefs. And E is the effect. So you can run through that cycle, all of these for the ABCDE technique, right? So let's just say giving a speech or doing a presentation. That's the activating agent that is bringing about anxiety. Your belief system is You've done well in speeches in the past, right? This is taking an optimist approach. If you're a pessimist, you'll say, I'm going to bomb and I'm not going to do well. The consequence is you're going to be a little nervous, but if you do well, you're going to get an A for that particular presentation, right? This then disrupting irrational beliefs is thinking of ways to reduce that speaking anxiety, right? And the effect is you will give a bomb speech, you will give a great speech, right? And come out on the other end with the A. Resiliency is the ability to identify and make use of strengths and assets, responding to challenges. I lost my financial aid when I was at my community college. My auntie and my grandma passed within a year, and this is my favorite auntie. And how I responded to that was seeking help, grieving, right? Going through going through my emotional responses of dealing with that, but I didn't let my grades fall. So I had to use that as a strength to overcome other stressful situations in my academic life, right? Went on to get a master's degree, went on to get a doctorate degree based on overcoming certain situations of not having money to pay for college and losing loved ones. So I used one situation of resiliency and applied that to other situations to help me get through. Resiliency traits tend to be happiness, right? Optimism, right? Self-determination, creativity, self-control, gratitude, forgiveness, humility. Hardiness, or the state of mind that includes the three C's, will be commitment, control, challenge. Hardy people can withstand stressors. We covered a lot in lecture A, right? But some of the things that I've done in the past is, I've had students spend a full day, looking at that attitude of gratitude, right? How can you spend a full day and just look at the positive things, writing the description of your day, right? I also like folks to discover whether you're a type A or B personality, right? Think about family members that may have been, was your mom or dad type A personality? List the characteristics that you may have observed, right? These are all activities I've done in the past. And if you have a locus of control score, was it more external than internal, right? Role play the internal point of view. Sometimes it's oftentimes fun to take a picture from a magazine and tell a positive story and a negative story about the same picture, right? And what's happening? How do you feel? What's included, right? And what do you want the outcome to be for that particular story? Okay. I am Professor Alexander. You know how to reach me at alexanderrobert@fhda.edu if you have any questions. This was another great opportunity to learn more about yourself and how it is applicable to the things around you. Right? We looked at different types of personality, type A, B, C, and D. We looked at the locus of control. And we also looked at the practice of having an attitude of gratitude. This is something that you want to practice before your duration, right? This makes you feel better. Right? Being an optimist as opposed to being pessimistic about things can also reduce stress. Take care, folks.